race over 3¼ miles for this established Grand National trial. The William Hill Grimthorpe Chase, chasing a prize fund of £50,000. The white-faced course specialist Collonges shows up prominently early as they go to the first with the grey Quentin Collonges. Joined together, Ruby Walsh, the blue and orange starred silks, close up just behind the leading lines. Got Billy McGurn for company, and wider out Mr. Moonshine, the pink cap. Beneficial Reform, a yellow jacket, tracks them over the opening fence, which they're all over safely, though caught by surprise. Was a little awkward and finds himself in rear early. Black jacket with the likes of Lord Vile, Calgary Bay, the maroon cap, and last year's winner, the Corridor Road, the latter in the cheek pieces. Meanwhile, Mr. Moss in the raw blue silks tucks it in midfield against the running rail, next door to Knight in Milan. So bearing left-handed on to second. Next three fences come quite quickly. Quentin Collonges and Collonges are disputed. Just ahead of Billy McGurn, Beneficial Reform and Joined Together. Leaders take it safely. Again, just a little disorganised, caught by surprise at the back end of the field. And they turn now to face the first of the ditches. So dual course winner, Quentin Collonges, moving on from Collonges. Beneficial Reform jump well. Knight in Milan is a fall-up. Badly hampered Joined Together, who was badly bulked, and Walsh finds himself right at the back of the field as we lose Knight in Milan at the ditch, and he almost brought down Joined Together, who's now at last of the 11 that remain, but an early scare for Joined Together. Happily, Knight in Milan is continuing loose at the rear of the field, and I hope Nico de Boinville is up okay. He's shielded from my view by the trees at present. Meanwhile, Quentin Collonges leads them into the straight at the end of 3/4 of a mile, and just gathering a bit of momentum here from Collonges. Quentin Collonges jumping well. Beneficial Reform was over disputing second. They're still Joined Together at the back of the field, and it might be a case now of Ruby just nursing him back into it. Pretty well stretched out as they move on towards the next one up the straight first time. Quentin Collonges from Beneficial Reform. Collonges, the white cap, close up. Then a 5 or 6 length break to Mr. Moonshine, the pink cap wide of Billy McGurn. The Corridor Road in the cheek pieces a bit closer to them, and then the nose-banded Mr. Moss, caught by surprise away to the left from Calgary Bay, Lord Vile, and finally Joined Together. Heading up towards the fence which completes the jumping up the Doncaster home straight at this time, and Quentin Collonges booted into it, jumping soundly. He's done really well at the 4 fences up the straight, has extended his lead to a couple of lengths from Beneficial Reform as they pass before the judge in some welcome spring sunshine, and prepare to embark upon a further circuit of Turnmore. And Joined Together, having been badly hampered by Knight in Milan's fall in the early part of the race, is still last of the 11 that remain as Quentin Collonges leads them away to the water jump, chased by Beneficial Reform. Collonges in third. Mr. Moonshine in fourth is a bit closer to them now. And then Billy McGurn in the maroon sleeves. A Corridor Road follows next with Mr. Moss caught by surprise. Calgary Bay, AP, the maroon cap. Then Lord Vile in the orange and green. And finally Joined Together, and it looks as though caught by surprise, dropped his hind legs in the water and splashed 1 or 2 rivals around him. Over the next plain fence, Quentin Collonges forcing an error from Collonges, who split the birch there. And they move swiftly on towards another ditch. Quentin Collonges being pestered by Beneficial Reform and the riderless Knight in Milan. The leading pair have gone 6 or 7 lengths clear. Mr. Moonshine's gone up into third. A Corridor Road gets a couple of sharp reminders in midfield. Collonges is sliding back to mid-pack, just ahead of Billy McGurn. Calgary Bay inching into it out wide. Mr. Moss, noseband, never left the inside for Paul Maloney. Then a break to caught by surprise Lord Vile, and Joined Together remains last of all. Highest point of the track, and they come to the 12th. Good leap once again from Quentin Collonges. Billy McGurn lost a bit of ground, drifting back behind midfield, and gets a couple of sharp reminders as they make the descent with still 7 fences to jump at over a mile to travel. And last of the 11 runners Joined Together, with Ruby having to niggle and nurse away, but it's been a bit of a struggle to get him back into the race after being hampered. Quentin Collonges from Beneficial Reform. Mr. Moonshine closing up Collonges, rallying a little down the inner. Calgary Bay is being popping away quite quietly for AP, but is now up into 5th place as they take this next plain fence. Quentin Collonges and Beneficial Reform pretty much together. 4 lengths up. on Mr. Moonshine, ridden along, getting a slap down the neck, and then Corkage, Corridor Road and Calgary Bay next as they come to the last of the ditches, and Quentin, Collonges again jumping boldly, stretching them out, and there a spectacular unseat for Sam Drake aboard Lord Villay, who's out of the race, struggling at the time. Moving now towards a 5 out, Quentin, Collonges edging on by 3 or 4 lengths from Beneficial Reform, but they're beginning to stack up in behind. Mr. Moonshine has been ridden for a while, but he's getting into it. Then a Corridor Road, Corkage the white cap, Mr. Moss and Calgary Bay next, and then Billy McGurn caught by surprise, and it looks as though Ruby has given up the unequal struggle and is pulling up joined together as Quentin, Collonges bounds on down towards the 4th last. A spectacular leap, spring heel there, came up almost outside the wings, still being chased by Beneficial Reform. Then a Corridor Road, last year's winner, trying to get on terms. Billy McGurn rallying a bit under pressure, the pale blue cap, then Mr. Moonshine. Quentin, Collonges safely over the 3rd last. Beneficial Reform kicked the top out of it. Corridor Road in 3rd. Mr. Moss, noseband, keeping on, but Quentin, Collonges has got them all flat to the boards in behind. He draws to the penultimate fence. Can he keep going? He's over safely, if a little untidily. The lead stood at 5 lengths. Mr. Moss is out after him. He's now beginning to bridge the gap here. Maloney starting to get a tune out of Mr. Moss. One more to jump in the Grimthorpe. Quentin, Collonges reaches for it. Down at the buckle end, Tinkler. Mr. Moss comes to him, draws alongside, eyeballs him. What's the grey got left? Quentin, Collonges, Mr. Moss on the near side, bearing down at him. Quentin, Collonges will not be denied. He sticks his grey neck out, and Quentin, Collonges lifts the Grimthorpe under a great ride from Andrew Tinkler. Sees off Mr. Moss. Corridor Road and Beneficial Reform chasing them home, and then Billy McGurn, and they go back to Calgary Bay.